Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Rob Maynard Show. We got a great guest today. He's got a new book out, Gun Rights 101, or How to Keep Our Second Amendment Individual Right. It's a simple read, and it arms you with the knowledge to dispel the leftist talking points. If we're to preserve this constitutional republic for future generations, Tyler's book enables such. I recommend you read, study, and prepare yourself to defeat the leftists' intent to relegate you being a subject. That's the endorsement from Lieutenant Colonel Allen B. West, governor candidate for Texas. And in 2008, Justice Scalia wrote the magnificent decision of D.C. versus Heller, which finally settled the debate. Yes, Americans have the individual right to own firearms, and the government cannot flat out ban firearms. In 2010, the U.S. Supreme Court strengthened the Heller ruling in Chicago v. McDonald, which applied the Heller ruling to the states through the 14th Amendment. A major key takeaway from the Heller decision is that firearms in common use are protected by the Second Amendment. 8 to 12 million legally owned firearms of a particular make and model certainly qualify for common use. Despite these facts and constitutional protections, gun grab politicians, media elites, and billionaire bullies still want to take away America's favorite rifle. So gun grabbers of the left have always been champions at manipulating the emotions of the masses and producing completely irrational fear and misguided ideologies about firearms and the Second Amendment in particular, with their tyrannical tirade to flat out ban the AR-15. They keep perpetuating the false narrative that it's the favorite gun of mass shooters and that it should be banned because it looks scary. These are the reasons, my friends, why we need a book like Gun Rights 101. The founder and president of the Second Amendment Institute, an organization whose mission is to educate, activate, and empower individuals to be effectively mobilized for the Second Amendment. Tyler Yizgear joins us today to discuss his new book and his first book, so you will have an understanding of why you need a copy. Every gun rights advocate needs to read this book. Tyler, welcome to the Rob Maynard Show, my friend. How are you doing?
It's awesome to be on the show finally. I watched it a lot, and now I'm here, so it's pretty cool. It's a surreal experience. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. Well, we're in our brand new studio. This is my third show since we restarted back in mid-October. So you're right up there, and we are really honored to have you on it. And I'm really excited about this book. And friends, just a reminder, this is a live show. You are welcome to comment on the show. We do appreciate your efforts and your questions. And we just want to showcase this really great book that Tyler, who is, I think I missed it, is the president and founder of the Second Amendment Institute, of which I am proud to be a volunteer member of the board. And in all transparency, I need to tell you that. Okay, so Gun Rights 101, Tyler. What's the first thing you tell people about this book?
I mean, I just open up the book with, the Second Amendment. If you're going to defend your gun rights, you should know it. So that's first and foremost. And then it kind of goes into sort of a small explanation of the Heller and McDonald decision. But that really gives you like an idea of what the book is like overall. And then it dives into gun control lies. I've got 43 in there, which to my knowledge is the largest list of debunked gun lies ever published. And then it goes into the Supreme Court cases. You got Heller, McDonald, which you pretty much gave really good gists of, and the Catano case from Massachusetts in 2015. Goes into some other areas of gun rights, just things that people can quick reference. So if someone says X, you can come back with Y and hopefully shut them up. Promise.
Well, I enjoyed the read. It's a quick read, and I'm proud to endorse it. And I owe you a quote, but I do endorse the book, and I'm excited to get it in people's hands. And when I say people, I mean Americans that that are gun owners, especially, that not everybody's been an advocate, but they may have owned guns or used guns since they were little kids, especially out in rural America where the real Americans live. And it's a very important topic to be able to discuss. And you focus on one chapter on the AR-15. Why did you do that?
Look, you even open up saying, "Oh, the AR-15s are the choice of mass shooters." That's just a flat out lie. Um, you know, People need to understand that the AR-15 is America's rifle, and if you can't dispel the leftist talking points, it's just going to make our cause look worse. So I dive into a good like 12 or 13, debunked lies on the AR-15, just to give people an idea of the truth. Just expose the truth, expose the lies of the left and the gun grabbers. They make the AR-15 to be some evil, weapon of mass destruction, when in reality it's a great, choice for home defense. It's a great choice for hunting. It's a great choice for sport, going out to the range and shooting it. It's light. It's easy to maneuver. There's hardly any kickback. Heck, you even see, fathers taking out their 10-year-old daughters to the range and shooting it. So I really, I thought that was probably the most important part almost of the book, besides the constitutionality section, just because the AR-15 is the focal point of all these debates, especially up on Capitol Hill. So if people, study it, it's quick rebuttals with the truth. I think it'll make our case as 2A advocates as a whole much easier.
So why do the commies? I just call the leftists commies nowadays. I
They
stopped
are.
calling them socialists. They're just communists. So why do the communists hate the AR-15 platform so much? I mean, it's a simple semi-automatic rifle. It can't be shot in an automatic way. So you have to pull the trigger once to get a bullet out once, just like any other semi-automatic rifle that I've been shooting since I was a boy. I mean, the first rifle I shot was a semi-automatic 22 rifle that my grandfather had from way back in the day. I mean, it's not like these things haven't been around. So what's the deal?
There's 2 points to that. First and foremost, they take the commies, which is what they are. They take the AR and say, "Oh, that means assault rifle." It doesn't mean assault rifle. It stands for Armalite Rifle, the company that first developed them in the 50s. But a lot of people don't do research. They just take in the garbage they hear from CNN or MSNBC and spew it back out, even worse. And secondly, it's a black gun, so or a they can make it look scary. So they take AR, turn it into assault rifle, and 2, they make it look scary. It's easy. AR-15, AR-15 is saying, a handgun or XYZ, whatever. It's just easy. It rolls off the tongue. So they take advantage of that and lie to people.
Wow, it's really frustrating to hear why these people hate this weapon so much. But it's also refreshing to know how many millions of AR-15s are in the hands of American citizens. Do we even know or
Well,
have an idea?
the National Shooting Sports Foundation estimated in 2016 there was about 12 or 13 million legally owned AR-15s in the country. And like you said, if that's not common use, what is? Both the Heller decision, the McDonald decision, and the Catano decision from the Supreme Court, really reaffirmed that common use clause.
Yeah, absolutely. It sure did. What are some of the issues associated with people understanding what their rights are versus what the law is that you come across and that your book is designed to help folks with?
Well, I always tell people I'm not an attorney, but I do know attorneys that would be willing to help you. uh, you know, the biggest thing is when it comes down to your right versus the law, a lot of people go to think posting on Facebook makes them an expert. If you're not doing your research, if you're not, going to unbiased source for the facts, just keep your mouth shut. You don't make yourself look any dumber than you are. Um, and not to diss, people, gun owners, but look, last year and this year we've had records, millions of new gun owners, left, right, socialist, all over the place. And I can tell you what, they don't know the first darn thing about their rights. So this is kind of like a step-by-step guidebook of understanding your rights. Okay, Heller decision said some people still think you can't own a firearm in the district, or that you can even get a concealed carry license in the district, which I have my DC concealed carry license in DC. It's a shall issue state now since 2017. But just things like that. And when people can actually be like, well, actually the law says XYZ, or this case says this, it just makes us all look better and better educated.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that folks that are, especially new gun owners, that may have lived in the city all their lives, don't really understand not only their rights but also the law. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of these public legal cases are important for folks to understand why the outcomes came about. Now, you mentioned, Tyler, that the Second Amendment is not for conservatives. It's not for leftists. It's for Americans. And people are buying guns because they see a breakdown, especially in the safety area of government services at the local level, and have seen it for a year and a half now. And they want to make sure that they're capable of protecting themselves and their family and their property. What are you hearing? One of the reasons why I like being on your board on the Second Amendment Institute is that I'm older. I just turned 60, and the folks that you talk to are usually on college campuses and those kind of things. So, what are you hearing about, like the Rittenhouse verdict, which I watched that trial live and follow? Let's see, self-defense law, I think is his Twitter handle, Andrew Braca. If you don't know the Twitter handle, I follow him, and Recchietta Media had a panel on every day. It had some great attorneys on that I know. So we watched the trial, and the verdict was right. The verdict was right. There was no other verdict that could have been come to based on the evidence of that trial. But what are you hearing from folks that especially on college campuses, when you go talk to them about this type of issue of self-defense?
A lot of people are still hooked on this misconstrued fact that Kyle crossed state lines with his AR, which he didn't. He was visiting his dad. He also was a volunteer EMS and police cadet in that city as well. So that's the biggest thing they're honing on, is this lie that he crossed state lines with the guns. Well, first of all, that's not even a relevant issue, because as long as you're lawfully transporting your firearms across state lines, you're fine. So that's the biggest thing I've been hearing. It's interesting you mentioned college campuses. Arizona State University just accepted Kyle, and the socialist organization on campus came out with this press release, which was only covered locally, demanding the university rescind his acceptance because they don't want a, quote, mass shooter on their campus or a white supremacist, and that they want their segregated safe space to be expanded. So those are the big things I'm hearing from college campuses, just to show the idiocy of some of these students, honestly, because they're all hooked on emotions, and why they're even protesting someone defending his life that killed a registered sex offender of little children and a convicted rapist, and shooting another felon, defending his life, just is beyond me.
Yeah, Tyler, I understand that, and we have a comment here, and I'm going to bring it up and let you address it. This is from Alice Baker. Oh, yes, I see where your rights are transferred to school kids and they fire away just like your rhetoric has caused. Where has common sense, and I believe she meant gone? What do you think of that comment, and how do you answer her concerns?
Look, we all have the right to defend ourselves on or off campus as long as it's legally done. Um, so your question of your rights are transferred to school kids, I don't really see what you mean by that. Um, in regards to common sense of students of the left on campus, there really is no such thing. Just because they've been, brainwashed for so long by gun grab politicians with lies. Um, and they also say that they're the tolerant people, but they're not. They're not tolerant at all. So when someone like, Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old, has gone through such a traumatic experience the past year and wants to live his life as a normal young adult, schools aren't gonna. There's gonna be groups on college campuses that don't let him do that, and it's a shame, really, because he was acquitted, found out guilty by a jury of his peers over a year-long time frame. People should just let him go to school and be left alone.
Yeah, I agree. And Alice added a comment that said responsible parents would help. Well, of course, Alice, that's what American citizenship is all about: is teaching our children to safely use firearms and to exercise their rights in a responsible manner, because we have a duty to exercise our rights in a responsible manner, even if it's not the Second Amendment. That includes free speech and those kind of things. And you should take that responsibility very seriously, I would add, and especially parents. So I totally agree with you. We need more responsible parents that understand what all of their civil rights are and teach their children how to use them responsibly and with safety, especially the Second Amendment and the First Amendment, because we really could use a lot of that lately. Well, Tyler, how about your book mentions that you lay out a chapter about the constitutional right itself. And what do you explain to folks in the book about the Second Amendment and what that right is about beyond the introduction?
Right. Well, one of the segments, the lies that I expose and counter are, your constitution, what I call your constitutional right. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, the Second Amendment was written for militia." Not true. It was written for a collective militia and also individual citizens who were not part of the militia. In fact, back then, the people made up the militia, so that's why you have those two separate clauses in the Second Amendment. Another part is, AR-15s or handguns today weren't around back then. Well, it's interesting if you look at weapons of the Revolutionary War. They have what looked to be almost like Gatling gun type guns, capable of rapid fire. And then, of course, you have later in the Supreme Court where Scalia wrote that firearms in common use are protected. So it comes down to a lot of debates surrounding the actual right to own guns, to carry firearms, etc. And I just go through a long list of those similar to those two types, just as examples of how to counter lies that you may come across in regards to the actual right to keep and bear arms.
That's a nice segue to my next question, because you devote a whole chapter to the data. Uh, what are the big pieces of data that the average person really doesn't know, but they get thrown at you when some lefty wants to make a silly argument that they know isn't accurate, but they know that a lot of people don't understand what the data is or even that it exists.
Yeah, I mean, a big part is it's called the hard data, which is this part of the book. It's still one lie per page debunked, but at the bottom it's going to have a section called side note, and it's going to have the actual numbers. So they say, well, guns are the number one cause of death in the United States. It's not one you hear often, but you do hear it. And it's false. You've got car accidents, you've got obesity, you've got heart disease. If the government actually cared about the people, they would ban fast food and force everyone to get a gym membership. Things like that. Also, some of these organizations come out and say, like the Gifford Center, there are 500 mass shootings per year. And that's wrong. It's just wrong. First of all, there's no centrally agreed upon definition of a mass shooting, but we go off the congressional research record, and we go off the FBI, which says 4 or more shot or killed in the same instance by the same shooter. That's what's considered a mass shooting. And when we look at that, so for one particular lie, they said there were more mass shootings this year than the number of days in the calendar. It was actually only 33. And the AP, the Associated Press, actually reported that for that year that there was 33, not 365 or more. So it's hard numbers like that. It gets into the research, you look and see, well, what kind of guns are used most in crime? And people say, well, the AR-15 is the choice of weapon for crime. No, it's actually handguns. And on top of that, actually blunt objects, fists, knives actually accumulate for almost triple the amount of crime committed than a rifle, semi-automatic rifle per calendar year. So it's hard data like that people have to read a few times to like drill it in their brain. But it's great when you see the person's face you're debating with and they don't know how the heck to answer.
And this is all public data, right? It's the FBI's database on crime statistics.
It is all public data, yes, and it's just knowing how to find the data, how to report the data. So the FBI actually just redid their whole data reporting system. So now you can select X year through Y year. You can select type of crime. You can select really whatever you want and play around with it. It's just really, really time consuming to get all the data and then to be able to actually to quote the data to back up what you're saying, which is what I do.
Yeah, exactly. That's why people need to get this book. I'm putting another question up. Can you tell folks where to get the book today? And if you have a link that you could post in the chat, that would be great.
Yeah. So my book, Gun Rights 101, is the only book of its title on Amazon. So if you go on Amazon right now and just type in Gun Rights 101 with Tyler next to it, because good luck spelling my last name, it'll come right up. There'll be a few sponsored ads, and then my book will be right there, and you'll see the cover with the gun and the big red letters. And afterwards, I'm sure myself or Rob can put in the direct link to the Amazon book, but just Amazon.com, Gun Rights 101, Tyler, and it'll come up.
Yeah, folks, if I don't get it posted now, I'll put it on the comments on the Facebook pages that we transmit to, and to my Twitter account, which we transmit to. So I'll make sure we get that link. But it's Amazon.com, Gun Rights 101. So you talk about the hard data to use to make people, educated, get people to be educated on what's really going on with death in the country and injuries, and how each of these relates or doesn't relate to a semi-automatic rifle. And then you mentioned that you had like 45 cases that you put into the last chapter of the book.
Right. So first of all, thank you, Jamie, for ordering a copy. Everyone should be like Jamie and go order a copy. Second of all, I put in 3 big Supreme Court cases. I put in DC v. Heller, and it starts off with a section called bullet points, and it's just it's literal bullet points, like actual bullets, like bullet points, and it's the key takeaways of the case. And this is great because you go on SupremeCourt.gov, you look at the case. Good Lord, the Supreme Court case for Heller, I actually have somewhere in my books back here. It's like 100-something pages. You don't want to go through all that, so it's the bullet points. Same with the McDonald case. And then the Catano case, which was the stun gun case up in Massachusetts. And then the last 2 parts are a list of gun rights organizations and gun control organizations that everyone should be aware of. and then each state's provision for their version of the Second Amendment, which, interestingly enough, well, actually, I'm not surprised, neither California nor New Jersey have state provisions for Second Amendment in their state constitution. But those Supreme Court cases are really important because they are the what we base our arguments on. The highest court in the land has now said, yes, I have an individual right, unconnected with military service, to keep and bear arms. Yes, it is applied to the states through the 14th Amendment, through the McDonald decision, and then the Catano case reaffirmed the common use clause from Heller in 2015. So those are like the prime cases.
So folks, this book is fantastic. You've got to get a copy of it. It's a really quick read. It's something good to carry around in your range bag, or carry with you to activist meetings or public meetings where you're going to go talk about new laws and everything. It's interesting. I found some interesting commentary from Justice Scalia in his Heller decision. I think it was from there where he mentions that the Constitution doesn't bestow rights. It only, identifies rights that were pre-existing. What does that mean to the average person that owns a firearm?
Well, I mean, his whole argument, in his opinion, stems off this universally accepted truth that self-defense is a basic human right that we can track back on paper all the way to the early 1100s over in England, from common law over there. So that's part of it, I think. And then secondly, I definitely feel like there was a touch of his religious upbringing in there, that our rights are endowed by our Creator, which is one of my core beliefs as well. The Constitution is just, and this is how our framers felt, our founding fathers felt as well. They were just putting down into paper our inalienable rights given to us by our Creator. So I think, him basing his opinion, writing his opinion of the court off of those 2 points in particular.
Yeah, folks. So you understand, our Constitution doesn't give any rights to anybody. The Bill of Rights only identifies pre-existing rights that the founders and the drafters of the Constitution thought were important to put in. There are rights that aren't in the Constitution, but they thought the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms as a person, as a citizen, was so important that they should list that right after the First Amendment, which has several rights in it. The freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, religion, to seek grievance against our government, and those kinds of things. So it's very important to understand that, but it's also important to know that there are laws like self-defense law that you should know, right? I mean, I think Kyle Rittenhouse showed as perfect of a response to being attacked by assailants when he was armed with his AR-15 that night on August 25th in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And when you walk through the law, I recommend everybody go and at least read the transcript of the trial and walk through the instructions, which I think were 35 pages long, weren't they, Tyler? That the judge gives to the jury. And it's very, very clear that had Mr. Rittenhouse done one thing wrong, that he could have been convicted of murder. So it's very important. Where do you go to learn what the law is in your area, Tyler? I know you're in D.C.
Yeah, I'm here in the swamp. There's a couple good resources you can actually use. First and foremost, you go to supremecourt.gov if you're looking for a Supreme Court case. But if you're not, there are other sources, such as there's one that Cornell puts out. I forget the name of it, but Cornell University puts out a legal digest of major cases that you can read, and that's free. I also, I'll go to, Fox News's legal analyst and read what they wrote. or even CNN's, just to compare the notes. I don't even think CNN put out one for the Rittenhouse case, actually. So there's a bunch of resources online. Just always check to see, you know, who or where you're getting the information from. Look up the author, see what they've published in the past. The Hill isn't too gun friendly, so I wouldn't go to there, but Washington Examiner is great. The New York Post is good. And you can always, attorneys, put out their opinions as well. And you can always go to an attorney site and see if they've posted anything as well.
Well, fantastic. Well, I mentioned in the intro that you're not just an author, but you're the founder and president of the Second Amendment Institute. Uh, Tell our viewers a little bit about why you founded that, what your main mission is, and what you're focusing on for the next year.
Well, I went to Joe Biden's alma mater, University of Delaware, if he even went there. So we won't even get on the topic of Joe Biden, but and I had a gun rights group there, and I just love teaching students about firearms and firearm safety and gun rights advocacy, and brought in Katie Pavlich from Fox News before she was this major celebrity, and I graduated and I want to keep it going. So I met Dick Heller from DCB Heller, and put together a board and some officers, and we really focus heavily on education through social media, through our educational pamphlets, which are all free on our website, through direct mail campaigns. And, we do a lot of events, especially over here in the DC, DMV area, just to bring patriots together and learn about their Second Amendment rights. As for this year, now with this new Omicron variant of COVID, schools are going to start shutting down again, and our big focus is on college campuses, which we can't go to if they're shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, I might be in Florida a lot, because Florida just reported the least amount of new COVID cases, and it's been the most open since COVID started. Imagine that. So I might be down there a lot and visiting Mar-a-Lago. If I have the chance.
Well, you could come down here to the Gulf Coast too, because we're pretty free over here, and I'm in Mississippi now, just across the Louisiana border. But all my friends in Louisiana, Jamie Fontenot is one of them, who just ordered your book. He said, "We got to get you down here, Tyler, to get some Cajun food in you," and that's true. Maybe your next meeting you can have down here in the New Orleans area, or if things are bad with the COVID over here in Mississippi, we're still a free state over here for the most part.
That'd be fun. We had our last conference in Richmond, right? End of September, with former Secretary Ryan Zinke headlining it, and which everyone, Gator Pack Rob Manis was a sponsor of, that helped us out a lot. And but you know what? The first year was in Arlington. I didn't like it too much, Arlington, Virginia. And then we moved to Richmond, getting a little bit more south now, but now it's a red state. Go Glenn Youngkin. Yeah. But Mississippi could be fun. Go down to Louisiana and go out partying there and have a conference there. I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad the book's out. Folks, it's at Amazon.com. Just type in Gun Rights 101 and Tyler. You may want to put a space Y there and Z, and that'll really get to his
That's put down there. It's just the book.
Yeah. But go there and order the book. I'll put the link in the comments on all the Facebook pages and on the Twitter account. And Tyler, tell folks one more time where they can find Second Amendment Institute, follow you on social media, and then we'll let you get back to selling books and preaching to the citizens.
Yeah, sainational.org. If you look at that Twitter hand, the at in my bio down there, it's just that word, sainational.org. You can find out all our information on there, how to donate, finance reports, all that good stuff. We're one of the few financially responsible nonprofits out there. Unlike a lot of them, I don't take a dime, and I don't get paid 50% of donations. So check us out. And if you have any questions, I'm sure you can email me at tyler@sainational.org, and I'm happy to answer them.
Let's email tyler@sainational.org and reach out to him. Hopefully, we can get him to come down here for a meeting, folks, and we can get some good Cajun food in this guy's
I'm
belly
all for it.
because he's been in the swamp way too long. I can tell you that right now.
Need some
And,
good
and we
stuff.
got we got some good shooting ranges down here too that we can go
I bet
visit
you
while
do.
you're here, Tyler. Well, thank you very much, my friend. We appreciate it. I will sign off here, and again, I'll put the link into the comments to the Amazon.com, and we'll get this book out into the hands of our citizens. God bless you, and thank you for everything that you do leading the Second Amendment Institute, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Appreciate it.
You bet. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the president and founder of the Second Amendment Institute. That organization focuses on college age Americans and students and campuses, college campuses, to get the right word out about the Second Amendment Institute. To our viewers, thank you very much for participating in the show today. Great comments. Sorry we couldn't get to them all. I'll see if I can answer some if there are any burning questions in the comments when I review the show tomorrow. But again, we appreciate you. The Rob Maness Show isn't what it is without you, the audience, and we will continue to bring you factual, truthful information that usually opposes whatever the regime media is saying. And that's a guarantee from retired Colonel Rob Maness. Until next week, I'll see you later.